peeps and creeps, and welcome to Fright Club. I'm Gav, he's Danny, this is
Hello.
Fright Club NI, and another episode of Monday Night Frights. And Happy New Year, everybody!
Happy New Year,
2021. It's finally here. 2020 is in the past.
It's gonna be a good touch wood. It's gonna be a good year.
We hope so. Fuck 2020, worst year ever for a lot of people.
Awful.
2021 hopefully will be a better year. Obviously, the first half of it's going to be still very difficult for a lot of people. We'll be struggling right through it, but fingers crossed we can get through it, and we'll have something by the second half of the year. Hopefully, I'll be a bit more exciting and happy for everyone.
We can actually put on a screening. That would be the best thing.
That is the goal.
Even just one screening. Just
one screening. Hopefully, we'll get there. But in the meantime, we will be bogging your feeds with lots of Monday Night Frights episodes. So brilliant. Yeah. And tonight we're going back to Springfield. So Halloween special. Treehouse. How am I not a voice actor or like a Foley guy or somebody in?
We're just not big enough yet. Sometime soon.
What am I wasting my life fucking doing this shit for? Swear to God.
Hey,
tonight we've got actually.
I
know. It's brilliant. It's brilliant, really. But tonight we have actually before we actually get started into episode 3 of Treehouse of Horror and episode 4, we're doing a double whammy tonight for you, giving you just New Year spirit.
A 2 for 1.
2 for 1. We wanted to buy one get one free. Except
January,
you don't have to buy it. It's free anyway, so there you go.
It's a January special.
The gift that keeps giving. The Fright Club and I. So, before we get cracking,
what we doing?
I wanted you to show off something that we were supposed to show off in our last Treehouse of Horrors.
There is the Top Trump Specials Simpsons Horror Edition. Glow in the dark.
Glow in the dark.
And not only does the box glow in the dark, some of the cards glow in the dark too.
Oh my God!
But I picked out some of the quality ones. So obviously, one of your favorite ones from one of our previous episodes, my Davy Crockett hat.
Oh yes, brilliant.
And then a couple
Dr. Pretorius-esque, Mr. Burns.
Mr. Burns. And then we've got a few of characters we'll see coming up in the episodes we're about to discuss. So we've got zombified Springfieldians.
Landers, yeah.
And you got your
Krusty
the Clown. So zombified Springfieldites. We have, of course, the classic.
The legend.
Burns.
Mr. Burns as Dracula.
The Goblin.
Oh, yes.
And we've got
King Homer. There we go. Happy days.
And then the final one we've got
the best.
Devil Ned.
You've saved the best to last.
Ned. Well, I actually saved the best to last. Our reoccurring favourites.
Kang and Kodos. Here we go.
Of course.
They pop up in the Treehouse of Horror Part 3 and the Treehouse of Horror Part 4.
Of course. They are
just basically laughing. They're just cameoing, laughing at.
They just come, do a wee commentary, and then leave.
Yeah, brilliant. So, so we'll crack on with Treehouse of Horror Part 3, which is Season 4, Episode 5 of The Simpsons. It's the Halloween special, of course. And it starts off in traditional fashion, only a little bit different. It's got the warning at the start, but it's not the Frankenstein warning. It's the Alfred Hitchcock-style intro. And it's Homer just walking into the sort of silhouette.
But it's
and
got a little pucker mouth.
Little pucker mouth, boy.
Little pucker mouth.
And he does the whole sort of Hitchcock, hello, my name is whatever. And then we get that cemetery scene again, where there's a couple of tombstones and stuff.
I love it when Homer's taunting the audience. He's like, you're too chicken. You won't turn it off. Bok, bok, bok. The screen.
What does he says? He says, this will offend people, mostly religious people. Like as if, like religious people. Well, that's, to be fair, let's be honest. That is the truth. Unfortunately. So we kick off with the cemetery opening, and the only one that I noticed that made me sort of giggle was American Workmanship. It's dead. It's completely dead and buried now, and it's gone. It's never returning. I thought that was pretty funny. But then we get the sofa gag, which is the first time we get it in the Halloween special, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's just them as skeletons coming in and, very simple sofa gag,
taking
but
their seats. Mm-hmm.
taking their seats. And then we crack on with the first segment.
Yes.
What is the first? No, starts off as a Halloween party, isn't it?
It's a Halloween party. Bart's dressed up in Clockwork Orange attire.
That's right.
Martin Prince is the great god of poetry. Lisa's Statue of Liberty. And
House is Frankenstein, isn't he? He's got like from here upwards.
Oh, and then it's the. Yeah, he says about wanting to go out trick-or-treating, and Marge is like, oh no, we can have just as much fun here in the house, and she gets all the kids to close their eyes, and she has a bowl with grapes and spaghetti and a steak, and she's like, this is the witch's eyeballs, and this is the witch's hair, and this is the witch's brains, and then Bart goes, we haven't got the eyes yet, and she turns the light on, and Homer's eating everything.
He's scrambling, typical Homer fashion, just eating all the food, like.
Exactly, and then we start with the scary stories. Then they decide they're going to tell scary stories.
It's Lisa, isn't it, that she starts off first in the in typical fashion again for the Halloween specials. They use the Twilight Zone as a as a sort of starting point for a lot of these episodes. And this is the Twilight Zone episode called Living Doll, I believe, which is about a cursed doll. So,
again, such a trope.
Yeah, there's been loads of films based on that whole cursed doll.
Child's Play, and Annabelle, and what's the other one? Frank?
Oh, there's been loads.
Well, that's one of the most recent ones I can sort of think, alongside Annabelle. And so we get loads of that, and we get then the curse. What is it? It's Bart's birthday. And he opens up the first present, you see him opening on all the money, loads and loads of money. And Marge's like, "Where'd you get all the money, Grandpa?" And he's just like, "The government doesn't need it. I don't want it. But if they miss a payment, I'm gonna complain."
Grandpa's great. Actually,
he's in this episode.
And the next one, I think he's got a couple of awesome lines, and I hope that I remember saying them because I've written a few down.
I think this is where he sort of hits his stride. Was in this series, he sort of becomes more of a prominent player.
Yeah.
I think through this one, but and then Homer realizes he hasn't got Bart a gift.
Yeah.
So he's like, I have to go out now and get you one. I promise.
It's a wee bit of a throwback to Gremlins as well. What we spoke about last week, because he, the father in that tries to bring a Christmas gift home for his kid. This time Homer has forgotten to get Bart a present, but he goes into the little shop that's owned with the wee Chinese man, and he looks kind of similar.
Cursed knickknacks and frozen yogurt.
I know. There's a great gag in here.
I call it Froyo.
I know, because he's like, "Oh, I need a gift from a kid," like, and the old man's like, "Oh, well, I've got some yogurt. It's frozen yogurt. I call it Frogurt." And then, doesn't he say when you buy every time you buy a gift, you get a free frozen yogurt or something? But it's cursed.
He's like, the item. He goes, the item is cursed. That's bad. But you get a free Frogurt. That's good. But the Frogurt's cursed too. That's bad. But it comes with sprinkles. That's good. But the sprinkles have potassium cyanide. Homer's just like looking at him and he's like, that's bad.
That's bad. Homer's just skimming up like.
Yeah.
But it's a brilliant start of the episode, and
so funny.
What was the line actually? I know it's later on actually. Grandpa's got a great line later on.
It's are you thinking on the ball? So Homer's come in with the gift and he gives it to Bart, and Bart opens it and Bart's all excited because he's got his talking crusty doll and he's like, "I love you, Dad."
Yeah.
And then Grandma Simpson's like, "That doll's evil, I tell you, evil." And then Marge says to him, "You've said that about all the gifts," and he's like, "I just wanted attention.
I just want attention," and he just turns around.
So good. Away. So funny, cracked me up.
So the gimmick is that he gets this crusty doll and it's cursed, obviously, and a bit like Chucky.
Yep.
And he gets it home and all, and he starts talking to Homer, saying, "Oh, well, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't even pull the string that time." Yep. And then he starts trying to kill Homer and doing mad shit to Homer, and nobody really sort of sees this apart from Homer. What is it? Homer says. He's like, the doll's trying to kill me, and the toaster's been laughing at me.
The toaster keeps laughing at me. Oh, fuck yeah, crack me up.
Where did that come from? That was just random.
It just says it. The doll's trying to kill him, and he's rolling through the house, and he goes into the kitchen, and Marge finally sees it happen for the first time, and Homer is just like, the doll's trying to kill me, and the toaster keeps laughing at me, and then he gets his head dunked in the dog bowl.
I know. So Krusty tries to kill Homer a couple of times, and eventually they thwart him. Yes. And they realise that he's only evil because there's an evil button on his back.
It's the bit where Marge calls the customer service number on the back of the box, and it's 1-200 don't sue. So she calls them back, and then the utility man or whoever from the company comes out, and he's like, there's your problem. They had the switch set to evil.
Yeah. And they turn it to good, and then basically Krusty becomes Homer's slave.
It's the bit before that where the first time Homer tries to get rid of him, and he comes into the little Krusty doll's hitting on the Barbie in one of Lisa's doll's houses, and Homer grabs him and stuffs him into a bag, and he's like, "What do you think? Your dirty socks can't stop me." And then he ties it up, and he's like, "Well, they are making me a little woozy." And he chains up the briefcase and all, and throws it into the endless pit. The endless pit, he throws that, and then you see like a gangster come along, and he throws a body into the endless pit, and then this fella comes with a box, and he's like, "What was I thinking? Nobody wants Whoopi Goldberg nudes."
That's right.
And throws them in, but then they go bounce it back out of the hole. Somebody again throws it back hands.
Out. I know. Brilliant. What a throwaway line, but it was fucking brilliant. Brilliant joke. And then obviously that's where Krusty ends up going at the end of the episode. When he turns good, he becomes Homer's slave, because he does all his laundry and stuff, doesn't he? And then he goes to the dollhouse and he sees Barbie, and he's like, puts his arm around Barbie, and her head falls off, and then it just turns to like a heart.
It turns into like a happy ending rom-com.
It does,
at the end.
Krusty and Barbie.
Yep.
Together. Wonder what Ken would say about that, huh?
Well, I know.
Ken? Angry Ken. Raging. So that leads us into our second episode, Ben, which is called King Homer, which obviously we saw the giant Homer card that you had.
So the lead into that was it cuts to them telling stories again, but Homer is just like telling another story about a man whose wife's come home, and they're all like, "Well, why is his wife just come? What's scared about that?" And he's, "Oh, did I forget to say she was dead?"
Yeah.
And they're all just like, "What are you talking about?"
Like, they're scary.
And then what was it? Grandpa's like, "Oh, I've coughed up things scarier than that, Homer."
I know.
And he's like, and Bart's like, "Oh, you've lived such a like experienced life, Grandpa. Why didn't you tell a story?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I don't have much from my life, but I've watched a lot of movies." And then it goes into the King Homer.
Yeah, it turns to black and white.
Fuck, this has a line that I'd completely forgot about, and it killed me. I was in fucking bits for ages after.
Happy days. Hopefully I've written it down if I haven't. Oh, I've written it down. I think I know what it is.
You think you know what it is?
We'll get there. I'm pretty sure it's the one that I think it is. Was it delivered by Smithers? By chance? Yes.
Fucking
brilliant.
I'd forgotten.
I had to go, hang on, did he actually fucking say that?
Yeah.
Because that is dodgy.
It absolutely killed me.
Yeah, so this whole segment's based on obviously the classic King Kong movie from 1933, black and white. Marge it starts off with Marge answering the newspaper advertisement to Mr. Burns, and there's a great wee thing where it's like must like monkeys or something like that in the advertisement, and can't smoke.
Like
that's the only
preferred non-smoker. Yep.
So she decides to go. Burns and Smithers and the crew take her on their ship, and they go to Ape Island.
Yeah.
And Smithers says he's unhappy that there's a woman on board. And why is he unhappy that there's a woman on board, Danny?
Women and semen don't mix.
Yep. But the best thing is, it's a great line, but it's Mr. Burns' reaction to it. Yep. Because he turns and goes, "Yeah, I knew you were going to say that, Smithers."
Yeah.
Because obviously,
so
Smithers
funny.
is in love with
Smithers standing there in his wee officers, captain's uniform and all. So obviously, as a Wayne, you wouldn't notice otherwise. No. And I completely forgot that joke was in it. And when I heard it, I was done.
Brilliant. So they take Marge. Obviously, she's going to be the bait for King Homer, so that they can capture ape. They tie her up. Her hair gives her away because they're all like, "Oh, be inconspicuous," but she's got the big fucking beehive, so they obviously see her straight away.
It's the bit where they're getting off the boat, and he's like, "Oh, we have to prepare the bait."
Hello.
And Marge's like, "What?" And he's like, "I mean, the sunbathing beauty."
Hello. I just love, like, as anyone who's watched any of our Treehouse of Horror, Mr. Burns is the best character for me.
You love Mr. Burns.
I love anything that he's in. So, and
are you a bit of a Smithers? Are you a Smithers, Kev?
I would say so.
Big love for Burns.
I would say so. I have a lot of love for Burns. Not quite in the same way that Smithers does, but, you know, still love the man. Brilliant character. So they tie Marge up, and obviously here comes King Homer, the giant ape, to eat her.
Yep.
And as he's grabbing her, they start attacking, and that's the whole debate to get Homer back to America as a
where he's
attraction.
He's eating Lenny.
Aye,
and Lenny's like shouting and screaming. He's like, shoot him! And Carl shoots and gets Lenny in the arm, and he's like, "Oh, good shooting, Carl." And
then Lenny's like, "Stop eating me, Homer! Come on!" And he just eats him, or I don't know exactly what he says, but it's something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant! I love Lenny.
So good. So we get
it's
that
not actually how they actually capture King Homer is that Mr. Burns has a gas bomb, and he's like, he throws a gas bomb, it falls right at his foot, and he gasses him out. But eventually they get some gas bombs over, and then they take Homer out because he gets gassed out.
Mm-hmm.
And such a great little scene there with Burns just doing what he always does, and
feeble and pathetic,
with wee pathetic bones that he's got. They take Homer back to
Springfield.
Mm-hmm. They take him back to the States.
This is the bit they're showing him. They're doing the whole auditorium scene where they open the curtains and King Kong's, strapped up to the stand, and it's a bit where it's like the eighth wonder of the world, and Barney Gumble goes, "That's a huge platform."
I know. Fucking Barney.
That's a huge platform.
Yeah, that's a great line too. And then obviously he breaks free and just starts eating everyone. Like he legitimately just eats everyone, which is kind of like, wow, I didn't think they would show him eating so many people. And then isn't there a wee child? It's like a wee dancer, a wee kid. I think it's supposed to represent, what was that child actress back in the day? I can't remember her name, but she was like an entertainer. She danced, she sang, but she was really young, and she did stage shows, and she was an attraction. But King Homer just comes in and just grabs her and just fucking eats her. Like, fuck that. Who cares if she's a kid? Like, I know.
No stopping King Homer.
And then one of the best bits I thought was whenever obviously they were doing that famous tall build, the Empire State Building scene, where he's climbing up, and he sort of looks up and you see the size of the building. You're like, oh fuck, it's massive. He's going to climb to the top of it, and they're going to try and shoot him down. He gets up about 2 or 3 stories, and he starts sweating.
Yep,
because he's fucking fat Homer. Like,
and Marge is like, "Oh, you're looking a little pale there. Maybe you could do eating some vegetables instead of eating all those humans."
I know. And he passes out, doesn't he? He just sort of falls down.
He falls down into the ground. You can see he's only got up like less than the height of himself. And then they all kind of gather around him, and Marge is like, "He's not dead." And Mr. Burns is like, "He might not be dead, but his career is."
Yeah, I know. What was it? He says something about he mentioned some guy's name. I can't remember who.
I can't mind. He says this was worse than the time somebody went on a rampage, and
I can't remember his name.
I can't mind the name. He says I can't mind who it was, but so it goes from that there to they get married. Him and Marge get married, and it's the Bouvier side of the family and all the apes. And wee monkey comes in, and he's like, the fella who's showing people receipts, like, "Oh, are you with the bride or the groom?"
I know.
The wee monkey's like,
"Hello." And then there's not a bit where they're taking pictures, and the photographer's like, "If you could just stop cleaning each other for a second."
Yep, and then
screaming each other.
And then Marge's mum's like, "Hold on, where's your father?" And Homer's just pushing the leg into his mouth. And Marge's just like, "Oh, homie."
I know.
And then that's it. That's how it ends, with them having a lovely wedding.
Yeah, it's another nice, happy, romantic ending.
Lovely romantic ending.
I'm liking how this is going. It starts off sort of horrible and then good endings. And that brings us into the third segment of part 3, is the zombie episode.
Yep.
Which is brilliant. Again,
I love this one because there's so much to it. Obviously, it starts off kind of playing a bit like Pet Sematary. And then but there's also like elements of sort of Evil Dead in there, and
Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, Night of the Living Dead.
That's sort of the brains part, and
I think my favorite part about this is Bart's ritual costume.
Oh, yes, of course.
He's got the Thriller record album slipcover on his head.
I was wondering what the fuck.
It's the Thriller cover.
Why has he got that in his head? Oh, it's
Thriller.
It's Thriller. It's zombies, but
Raising the Dead.
That is class.
It tickled me watching that. I was just like, there we go. We Thriller reference.
So, what is it? Starts off kind of sitting around again, telling stories, and Ned comes to the door.
Yes. He's got the decapitated zombie head on.
Yeah.
And it's got spurty blood, and then his head just pops out, and he's like, "Howdy ho, neighborinos."
I know. And then does he not go? Oh, I didn't mean to scare you, or didn't mean for you to wet yourself. And then Grandpa's like,
Grandpa's sitting there like,
too late. He's pissed himself. So the whole plot to this one is that Bart needs to read books, and he's been told by the teacher to go to the library to read a book that's suitable for him, because he's just been doing book reports on.
He was reading a pop-up book.
Elementary school books and like kiddie books. So he goes to the library and he picks out this book, and it's like a magic spell book. And he finds out it's a spell book, and him and Lisa are talking about the cat Snowball, who's dead, and they want to try to bring Snowball back to life. So Bart decides to cast this spell to see if he can bring Snowball back to life, but he ends up bringing like everyone back to life. So all the zombies start coming out of their graves and stuff, and it's such a clever episode because there's a lot of funny like old people come back from the grave. Like, isn't there like Shakespeare's in it, and who else is like loads of famous?
There's loads of famous.
George Washington, is he in it as well?
Maybe. There's quite a few, and then there's what is it? There's just some really great wee lines from even the zombies, like when they're all returning back to their graves at the end once they've reversed the spell, and it's like what is it? The fella's name? Say it was like Carl Withers or whatever. You can tell us watching Mandalorian. Carl Withers, and the fella comes up and he's like, "Oh no, I'm Carl Withers," and he's like, "Carl Withers, 1822." He's like, "Oh nope, apologies."
John Smith it was.
John Smith, that's
1882. Apologies. My bad. But just before, obviously, during the episode, like everyone in Springfield gets turned. Krusty gets turned.
Yep.
Ned gets turned. Prince Skinner gets turned.
The bullies all get turned.
And they start kicking around Skinner's head and stuff. Ned's great because he's like, "Oh, Homer, let me nibble on your ear." and then there's a great part where they see Barney and he's just eating an arm, and Homer's like, "Oh no, Barney!" Right. And he's like, "I'm not turned, but when in Rome."
Exactly.
Hello, fucking Barney's got some of the best lines.
It's so funny. And it's the bit where Groundskeeper Willie's just finished doing like a wee flower garden and fixing up a flower garden, and then the zombies come out and he's like, and then he just fixes it again.
I know. Willie pops up a couple of times, and he pops up in the next one as well. He's great. But they get they have this idea that they can reverse the spell as well, so they go back to the book depository, not the library. It's a book depository, and they get the spell book and they cast the spell. And initially, Bart turns Lisa into like a snail.
What is that? And she's like looking at him like, what's the problem? And he's like, "Oh, I've never realized what a beautiful young woman you've become."
She's like, "Oh," and then he says it again. And eventually, everyone turns back, and they all go back into the graves and
go back to the graves. And John Smith, 18.
You get that John Smith moment, and then there's a cool moment at the end where when they go back to the couch to watch TV, they're like, "Oh, thank God, all those mindless zombies are gone."
That's right. Yep.
TV, it's quite a sort of heartfelt message that we're all mindless zombies because we're all slaves to technology and social media and television and all that sort of stuff.
We're a slave to the bub tube.
The big square shiny thing in front of the sofa.
We'll love it.
So that's Treehouse of Horror Part 3. Done and dusted. What was your favourite episode out of the 3 then?
It has to be the King Kong one, and purely for the women and semen don't mix
that's
line.
It. That was definitely
it killed.
That was definitely the joke. I legitimately stopped and rewinded it to hear it again because I did. Yep. I was like, did he say that? And then
actually,
and it was Burns' reaction to it was fucking great too. But I loved the start of it with the Hitchcock intro to the first episode. And then
was it the Hitchcock, or was that what it was from?
It was that. It's like Hitchcock used to introduce his films as well, and he used to introduce the Hitchcock's R series. It was a classic show when he did the introductions to that. But I do love the third one, the zombie one as well.
Yeah.
Just because I like the bit in the zombie one where they're all like, "Oh, brains," and then when they get Homer, they go to eat him and they hit his head and they're like, yes. no brains. So they leave him and they fuck off. And he's saved because he's got no brains, like so. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know what one was my favorite, but it's kind of hard to tell. I kind of like the last one.
Zombie one is
all
good,
the zombie ones.
No, the King Kong, because I love King Kong anyway as a film, both the old one and the Peter Jackson one, but the Smithers line wins it for me. Like,
brilliant,
so funny.
What a line! Smithers is seriously underrated character, so he is
very much so. Yeah,
I know. I also forgot to show you. Bart's back today, so he is.
Woo-hoo.
He's back. Do the Bart man.
Old Bart Sampson.
He's hanging about. Right, so part 4. On to our second part of the episode. This is Treehouse of Horror Part 4. Season 5, Episode 5 again. Starts off, there's no sort of warning gag this time. They've just decided,
they've dropped it now.
Let's not do this. Let's just go straight in with the zombie sofa gag, which is what they do in this episode. And then it starts off again. It's kind of parodying the night gallery type intro where Bart's walking through an art gallery and he's choosing different pictures that have different stories to them.
Lovely absurd start. We've got Lisa's the scream and Homer's doing the steps, the endless steps, and fantastic.
Is it Geiger or is it Escher? Sorry, it's Escher, isn't it? MC Escher. It's the steps, and then you get the scream, and you get a couple other things, and you get that cool thing where it's actually later on.
Maggie's done as a Dali, which is very cool.
Her face is all weird, and then I think the first one's like a Van Gogh type esque. Yep. So the first one they get to is the Devil, which is called The Devil and Homer Simpson, which is based on the Devil and Daniel Webster, which is again based on Murnau's Faust, which is about selling your soul to get something that you really want. And in this case, Homer Simpson really wants a fucking donut because the boys have ate all the donuts. In fact, they didn't eat them all; they threw some of them out as well, which makes it even worse.
And then he goes to get his emergency donut.
I know.
And it's an IOU from Homer Simpson.
I know. So Homer sells his soul for a donut, and of course, the devil is being played by Ned Flanders.
So is the one you least expect.
Brilliant, I know. Brilliant character, and he's even better as the devil because he does the whole sort of he's being evil, and then all of a sudden he's like diddly diddly, he just fucking goes into Ned Flanders. So he sells his soul, and Ned says, I'll give you a donut if you give me your soul, and you'll be my slave for the rest of your life, basically. But Homer strangely outsmartens the devil because he doesn't finish the donut straight away. He's like, "Ooh, I can keep this little stub of donut for the rest of my life, and your soul or my soul won't belong to you." And that lasts all but one evening, I believe. He puts it in the fridge, doesn't he?
He stumbles down late at night for a wee midnight snack and eats this last bit of donut.
He eats the last donut, and then Ned appears and basically entraps him in a cage of fire, and he's about to take his soul, and then Lisa sort of steps in and is like, "Oh no, we need to try, come on. You need justice." And Ned's like, "Oh, you Americans with your justice."
That's right. It's so much easier down in Mexico.
I know. Fucking hell, that was a bit hard hitting, to be honest.
But it's still a great line, and then because what is it? They come to the conclusion that because of the wedding vows, his soul belongs to Marge.
Aye, that's how it ends at the end. Whenever they got married, Homer said, "My soul belongs to you, Marge, for the rest of my life," and that's how they get out of it in the end. Yeah. But whenever they go to trial, Ned Flanders or the devil has his own jury, which obviously he's the devil. He can mix up his own rules. And some of the characters on the jury are fucking. There's like Blackbeard, who's Richard Nixon.
And Nixon is there.
Nixon's like, I'm not even dead yet.
I'm not even dead.
And then the devil's like, yeah, but you owe me a favor. Remember I did that thing for you. Which, again, hard hitting. Who else was on the jury? There was loads of other fucking weird characters, wasn't there?
It's good. Again, I think a wonderful thing about Treehouse of Horror is they can bring in all these kind of dead characters to play on dead characters because they're the Simpsons. They can do what they want. But there's some fantastic, cameos throughout these. The Nixon bit though, that was good.
That was brilliant.
So I'm not even dead yet.
I know. But then, so Marge obviously owns his soul, and the jury's like, right, well, fair enough. Your soul, you didn't own your own soul to give it away. It was Marge that owns it. But
it's the bit.
There's a loophole. There's a thing at the end where he has to have. What is it? Ned says, "That's fine, but you have to live out the rest of your life with your head as a donut or something."
Yes. And then we get donut-headed Homer.
I know, and he starts eating it, and he's got like bite marks and stuff. He's pulling.
But it's before that before they go to trial. He's like, well, you have to spend the day in hell, and they strap him to the donut eating machine.
I know.
And the demon's all like, you'll be forced to eat donuts for eternity. And Homer's just taking it. Yeah, and the demon's just like, how is this possible?
It's like something out of fucking Seven, man. He's just getting fatter and fatter and fatter.
But he's not stopping. There's no stopping the man.
Strangely enough, I seen online literally yesterday in one of the groups, Facebook groups that I'm in, somebody posted they got that as a present. The donut machine toy with Homer. It's an actual toy that you can get, and the donuts go up, and it goes into his mouth, so they must come out of his arse or something.
Look up through the machine.
They keep going up. Yeah, it's mad.
Amazing.
So anybody who wants to check that out, I'm sure if you Google it, you'll get it somewhere. But I thought it was awesome.
That's cool.
And, I forgot about that bit where he goes to hell, and then at the end he's got the big donut head.
It's amazing. It's the
a brilliant gag.
What is it? What do you call the lawyer?
Yes, it's played by Phil Hartman. I can't remember his name.
It's going to annoy me. Hold on, I have to look up now because it's going to annoy me that I can't.
A few moments later.
Lionel Hutz.
There you go.
So yeah, the bit where they've just started the trial, and Lionel Hutz is trying to defend Homer, and he says about it's a legally binding contract where it's signed and you can't break it, and he goes, I have to go to the toilet.
He's like, it's unbreakable, and then he realizes, fuck, I fucked up here, and he runs out.
And he goes, I gotta just take a quick toilet break, and then never comes back.
I know, he jumps out the window, does a Rachel Green, jumps out the window. Brilliant. He's great. He turns up, he shows up a few times.
Lionel Hutz appears quite regularly, which is good. Mm-hmm. Yep.
But the best guy they leave to the end because Donut Head Homer's sitting at the dinner table, and then Marge is like, oh, I don't think you should go out there. Homer's like, why? All the cops are waiting.
Yep.
Their coffees and all. They're like, you gotta come out sometime, Homer. Because they obviously love their donuts, and he's going to be their food. So, great episode again. And then on to segment 2, which features a little character which she showed at the start of the show. It was the Goblin character.
The Gremlin.
Or the Gremlin.
The Gremlin. Which again, links to last week.
Yeah, it does indeed. A bit like Gollum as well. He's sort of looked like Gollum.
It's a little hunched kind of gremlin-y, goblin-y,
yeah,
Gollum-esque being. And it's, what was it? Terror at 5 feet?
Terror at 5.5 feet.
Terror at 5.5 feet.
It's based on another Twilight Zone episode.
Yep.
Which I'm unfamiliar with, but I know I've heard the name before.
But again, playing on that old thing that we spoke about when we did Gremlins, is the notion that Gremlins and the machine, Gremlins and the technology. Obviously, the Twilight Zone episode is Gremlins in a plane. You know, what happens if a Gremlin's in a plane and takes the plane down? In this one, it's obviously supposed to be, what if there's a gremlin on a school bus? And it's obviously Bart's fears are kind of realized after his nightmare the night before. They're then realized by this gremlin attacking the school bus.
The best line in it is when Bart's had a nightmare about it, and then it actually comes true, where he was on the bus and it starts to become a reality because he sees Skinner on the bus. And Skinner's like, oh, I have to take the bus because my mom found out I was speaking to a woman.
Mother took my gear cards from me because she found out I was speaking to a woman on the phone.
No.
She was right to do so.
She was right to do so. I know, it's the last.
She was right to do so.
It's the last bit that fucking gets me. Skinner's fucking brilliant. So Bart sees the goblin or the gremlin out the side, and he's taking the fucking bolts off the wheel, and he's scratching the sides, and nobody can see the goblin. Yep. Nobody can see this fucking creature apart from Bart. And every time he tries to get somebody to look, they're like, "Oh, you're crazy, kid. You're crazy." And eventually, it goes and builds up and builds up and builds up until it's Willie, isn't it? It's Groundskeeper Willie who ties him to the street.
Groundskeeper Willie. They pick him up because what was it? He was out walking the dog or something, and something happened. He's like, "I had to put 17 bullets in him."
Aye, that's it.
You're just going down with the lead.
So random.
Like, what? But it's the bit before that where he tries to tell the bus driver. He tries to tell Ozzy that there's a gremlin on the side of the bus, and he looks out and he sees it's Mole Man driving an old AMC Gremlin.
That's right.
And he rams him off the road.
And then he's like, "Oh, this was my last day, or this was my last day of being covered."
Yep.
And it just blows up, doesn't it? It just blows up.
Yeah. Poor Mole Man.
I know.
Poor Hans Mole Man.
So Willie ties him down. They're playing with this whole thing that is Bart imagining it. Is it real? Or is it not real? Is it just another nightmare? Is it a hallucination? And then Bart's trying to kill it with the flares. Remember, he steals the flares from your man's. The bullies are trying to put flares into his.
Yeah, they're putting them into
basically
to Martin's. And it's the fact that Bart takes one to throw out the window, but the other one falls out. But Bart then lifts it and puts it back in.
Puts it back in.
I
know, and then he tries to throw the flare at the gremlin. And everything works out okay in the end.
It's when the gremlin is like on fire and it rolls off the bus and it ends up hitting Ned Flanders' windshield, and Ned Flanders pulls over and picks it up and like wraps up, and he's like, "Oh, look at you, you horrible little monster," and it like claws for his face. He's like, "Oh, he tried to claw my face off." And the gremlin's just looking like,
trust Ned, he always sees the good in people, doesn't he?
Always sees the good in everything.
No, but then later, when Bart is in the ambulance, he's like, "Oh, finally, I can relax and calm down." The wee gremlin comes up to the window and he's got Ned's head.
Yep.
He's chopped his head off.
He's chopped his head off. It's the bit when they're getting off the bus and Bart's being taken into the asylum truck. And he was like, "I was right. I told you there was a gremlin on the side of the bus." And Skinner's just like, "Right or wrong, you still shouldn't be making such a scene."
What is it? Skinner says another great line earlier on where he's like, "I hear there's a child using his imagination. I've come to put a stop to that."
Yeah.
That's the principle.
That's when they come to tie him up, isn't it?
There's
a bit Willie when they're trying to pull Bart back into the bus after he's thrown the flare out, and he calls Principal Skinner, what was it? He said a purse wearing pansy.
Aye.
What is that? He's like, "Pull harder, you purse wearing pansy."
Aye, something like that. I can't remember the exact wording, but yes, sounds familiar.
Ah, dear.
Willie just slagging people off is just brilliant.
His mate, still the best Willie line though, is the "Grease me up, woman" when he rips off the shirt to get the dog from in the vents. But that is not a Halloween special episode, so it shan't be covered. But we got to.
It is horrific. It's it could be horrifying to certain people.
A greased up Scotsman.
Angry Scotsman. Is he not pure buffed up as well?
Yep.
He's a pure buff man. Like he takes his top off.
When he rips off the groundskeeper gear, he's all buff. "Grease me up, woman."
I know. So that's a bad ending to that episode because the gremlin is still there, and we assume that the gremlin breaks in and kills Bart when Bart is no more. But now we're on to our last segment of the night, and it's my favourite segment of both of these episodes because, once again, Mr. Burns is in it.
It's the bit, Mr. Burns. It's the bit before they start the episode, and Bart walks up to the painting, and it's the dogs gambling. And Homer's shouting. Homer's like, "It's dogs gambling. How are they gambling?" And then Bart's just like, "Oh, we couldn't actually find a picture for this one, but it's about vampires. Enjoy." And then it's just Bart Simpson's Dracula comes onto the screen.
It starts off with like a news report, and he's like, "Oh, 2 bodies have been found with bite marks in their necks. Nobody nobody knows who it is or what it is, but this cape was found on the scene, and it just says Dracula's cape on it. And then it cuts to Wiggum, and he's like, "Oh, we think it was a mummy."
Yeah, it's like, so we've burnt down. We've had them burn the Egyptian exhibit in the museum.
Fucking brilliant line. And then Lisa, obviously being Lisa's, she's always the one that catches on to these things. I think she starts kind of catching on straight away that there's vampires happening here. And is it Homer that says the line that, "Oh, vampires are make believe, they're just like Eskimos"?
Yep.
Which is highly, highly offensive to Inuits. The word Eskimos offensive too, but fuck me.
It was a different time. It was
quite offensive. Oh, early 90s,
Jesus. But
those days,
what a brilliant line. And then they get invited to go have dinner.
There's a great scene just when Burns is like, "Oh," he wipes his mouth and there's like blood all over his mouth.
On the news report, yes. He's wiping the blood away. And he's like, "Oh, precious blood."
Precious blood. And then he invites the Simpsons to his house in Pennsylvania. Fucking brilliant.
Homer says it, "No, Pennsylvania."
And then it's Honda house.
It's what was it they say about?
But before that, he doesn't tell him, but you find out that he has told them to all make sure their necks are all washed.
As I was going to say, Marge goes, "Now, did you all wash your necks like Mr. Burns asked us to?" And then Homer's like, "Yep," and he shows like the dirty rag. I know.
Brilliant. So they go into the house, and it's sort of obviously reminiscent of Bram Stoker's Dracula when Gary Oldman welcomes Harker in, and you get all that wee shadow play, where the shadow's kind of talking and he's not, or he's talking and the shadow's not. And then when he walks away, the shadow's like playing with a yo-yo and stuff, and doing like balloon animals and stuff, isn't he? Mm-hmm. Great. And then the Bart and Lisa especially starts to think that he's Dracula.
Yep.
And everyone's like, "No, it's fine. It's just Mr. Burns." And isn't it Homer says something about his hair? He's like, "Oh yeah, his hair's very strange," or something like that. And then Bart and Lisa go down into the secret vampire room, and Bart's like, "It's just like any other basement. It's just like Grandpa's basement."
Yep.
And then that's where they find the book, and it's like, "Yes, I am a vampire." That's what the book's called. And then Lisa's obviously reading it, going, "Oh shit, he actually is a vampire. Let's read this and see, how can we get rid of him, or what can we do?" And just as that's happening, there's a great fucking line. It's not even a line; it's a reaction from Bart when all the brides start coming up from the coffins in that famous scene from the original Dracula movie. And Bart's like, he starts kind of screaming. It's not like Bart to do that, but I thought it was fucking hilarious.
Yep. And then Lisa's telling him, Lisa's just like, "Stop it, like stop messing about," and he's just doing his wee shrieks.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Is it 4 after that when Homer's drinking the blood? And Lisa's like, "Dad, that's blood." And Homer's just like,
"It's free blood." He starts drinking it. That leaves a big bloody thing. Yeah, that's just before it, because it's after that where they go down into the basement. Yep. And then, isn't it Bart gets bitten?
Yes, Bart gets bit.
Burns bites Bart.
Burns bites Bart.
Burns bites Bart. Fuck, that's weird.
Burns bites Bart.
That's weird. Burns bites Bart.
Burns bites Bart.
Try saying that 10 times after a drink.
Burns bites Bart.
No, don't. Let's not. So he bites Bart, and Bart's like, "Oh, I'm okay. I'm definitely not a vampire." Yep. And then
Homer's like, "Let's go back to that place we live with the TV box."
I know. And all the kids show up at Lisa's window.
Mm-hmm. Very Lost Boys.
Yeah, it's Lost Boys strokes Salem's Lot. They start scratching the window, and they're like, "Oh, Lisa." All the kids are there, Milhouse and the bullies and all. They've all been turned into vampires. And then they realise that to save Bart and all the kids, that they have to kill the head vampire. So they go back to Burns' house, and they need to kill Dracula.
Have to stack him in the heart.
I know. There's a great line as well where Homer's like, "Ooh, I get to kill my boss. The American dream."
The American dream. That's
right. So they go back to Pennsylvania, the old haunted house, and they get stakes and all. And
Homer's staking him, and he's hitting it in.
Hello.
And then Lisa's like, "Dad, that's his crotch."
What a line. And of course. And then he puts it into his heart and he smashes it through his heart and Burns wakens up and he starts screaming and then he starts melting away. But before he actually dies, he wakes up and again he's like,
"You're fired!
You're fired!" So he's dead and they go back to their house. But everyone's still a vampire and they're all like, Lisa's like, "Oh, I thought we had to kill a head vampire." And she thinks it's Homer because he's got the fangs, and then it goes to Marge, and Marge is like, "I was a head vampire all along." And I just thought it was a cool little end.
It's the bit where she's like, "I have a life outside this house, you know."
I know, because she's always taken for granted as just being the housewife and the mother, and
then it's the way they go to like jump at Lisa to turn her, but then it stops, and they're like, "Happy Halloween, everybody!" And then start humming a Christmas tune and it starts to snow in the house.
I didn't quite get that, but I'm assuming that's a party of some sort of other ending.
Maybe, or just because it is like, so close.
Yeah,
like Halloween turning over to Christmas.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it was great.
So funny.
Just a great. That's my favorite episode that we talked, or my favorite segment of what we talked about. Just because I love
particular one. Yeah,
I love Dracula. I love Bram Stoker's Dracula. And I love all vampires. I just love Dracula. It's great.
Yep.
And I also love Mr. Burns, and he's the perfect Dracula. He is the perfect count. So in the first one, he was very Dr. Pretorius-esque from Bride of Frankenstein, and in this one, he legitimately is Count Dracula. So he gets all the really good, funny roles and some of the best lines. But
we still have to wait for one of my favorite,
right?
Springfieldians as a horror character. We will get to it, but
I think I know who you're talking about. I will not say anything because hopefully we'll get there soon enough.
Oh, we will.
I didn't realize that the Mr. Burns Count Dracula one was so soon. I thought that was a little bit later on.
No, I think it's sort of one of the sort of go-to memories. I think for a lot of people is Count Burns, probably because it is quite early on.
Yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed that. And I love Devil Flanders as well.
Brilliant.
But there's another coming, which is a horror icon meets Springfield icon.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. I'm looking forward to doing that episode too. Really looking forward to it. Looking forward to covering all the episodes. Hopefully, we'll get there.
Will we just stick to our double bill format from now on?
I think what we're going to have to do from now on, every Treehouse of Horror episode that we do will be a double whammy. It'll be double whammy all around. And we might get to the point where we might have to skip the odd one here or there. But we'll see.
We'll review, and if it's not worth talking about, we'll maybe just jump ahead. But
I know. If you're watching this episode right now and you enjoyed this episode, let us know what your favourite segment was that we spoke about tonight, and what is your favourite segment overall. It can be in the future, or it can be one of the older ones that we spoke about already. And also, if you know who Danny was talking about there, drop the comments.
Drop it down in the comments.
Drop it in the comments. I think I know who you're talking about, Danny, and it's going to be a good episode.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a long time since I've watched a lot of these Treehouse of Horror, so it's going to be good. But anyway, that's all we've got time for tonight. Once again, we just want to wish you a happy new year. It's definitely 2021 right now, and we hope that 2021 is going to be a better year than 2020. And yeah, so stay safe, take care. Until next week, bye.